Kia ora koutou. Ko keitel kakaho. And a really warm welcome to you all. It's great to see you all here for this session and also to join us for celebrating 20 years of sustainable business practice at our annual council meeting. The Sustainable Business Council whānau has grown in the 5 years that I've worked for the team. So some of your organisations have been with us 20 years, some more like 5, and others this will be your first one. So a special welcome to all of you. This session is an opportunity for the team to give you the highlights from our last year and also share with you what we've got planned coming up next. We'd also like to capture some of your business's sustainability highlights, and we're doing this for a few different reasons. So on the wall, we have a timeline of all the important milestones for sustainable business practice in New Zealand in the last 20 years. So we'll invite you to post your own business's sustainability highlights, and also if you're willing to share with us what some of your upcoming highlights could be, we'll use that to inform Sustainable Business Council's vision setting, which we're doing at the moment, but also part of our birthday celebration communications. So I encourage you to do that at the end of this session and before the annual council meeting. And today we're trying out a new way of sharing information with you. Some of you will be familiar with Pecha Kucha, but for those of you who aren't, it's a storytelling format. Each presentation is made up of 20 slides with 20 seconds of commentary. So that means that all of our program managers have just 6 minutes and 40 seconds to cover their highlights and what's coming next. So for those of you who've not met Jay Krangle, she's our new training and events manager. So this is her very clever way of making sure we all keep to point and share with you what you need to know, hopefully in a fun and engaging way. So I get to go first. So I've managed SBC's climate programme for 5 years now and continue to be blown away at the work that members are doing to reduce emissions in their business. My role involves looking for opportunities to grow your capability, as well as using systems thinking to identify some of the more impactful ways that we can shift New Zealand Inc. The theme for the annual council meeting is looking back to look forwards. So in the same vein, I'll recap some of the work we've recently delivered and give you a sense of what's coming up in the next 18 months. The challenge with the climate work is there's so much we could do, so what do we choose? When we first began using systems thinking in 2015, we coordinated a series of climate action groups. They worked together to reduce emissions in areas such as energy and transport. They agreed on the projects that they would work on and shared information about why it was working well. They wanted to invite more businesses to join, but they told us they needed more visible business leadership on climate action. So we asked 13 of our member CEOs if they'd be willing to explore what that might look like. We hoped half of them would be keen, but in fact, all 13 of them helped to work to develop the Climate Leaders Coalition, which was launched in July last year with 60 signatories. Year one has been a great success. The CLC got a lot of profile, and it's been cited by many as a catalyst for action, not just in the business sector. None of us quite expected the momentum would grow to 112 signatories, who now represent over 60% gross emissions and 1/3 of private sector GDP. The CLC CEOs have told us year two is about setting up a strong foundation. The next steps will be to establish a governance group that will strengthen the accountability for signatories to show they're making progress on their commitments. And the theme of collaboration and working together to advance our transition in a more unified way was central to the work that we did on the Embark event last month. We worked with WWF New Zealand, ECA, and Ministry for the Environment to deliver a big event to galvanise emission reduction action and connect different parts of the system in a more meaningful way. Embark featured such a high calibre of speakers willing to share their knowledge. And being able to connect people with the providers of products and solutions meant that we got overwhelmingly positive feedback. Thanks to those of you who were there and helped to make it such a success. The biggest learning for me from Embark was how much I had to continue to push for the event to look and feel different from your usual conference. That we don't need international speakers to inspire us or tell us what to do. That we don't need people to sponsor us to run an event that large and small organizations can both afford to attend, and that you might need to put yourself out of your comfort zone to figure out your next steps. That's why I loved Mike's message on the need for personal leadership on climate action. I promise, you can count on me. Because someone decided 2019 was the year that we pushed the button, and now all eyes are on us to deliver. So in this time of a huge sense of urgency and momentum building at a fast pace, there are even more things that people are asking of us. What the system needs is a compelling vision for our future and the benefits of a net zero world. It also needs evidence and storytelling from businesses who've reaped the benefits of making climate action and emission reduction real. So now that you've all embarked on your journeys, what will it take to embed emission reduction and make it real? We asked a few of you, and you've told us that you want us to prioritize influencing positive climate action behaviors and helping to tackle Scope 3 emissions. So on the 24th of September, we'll do a workshop looking at tools to influence positive climate behavior change, and we'll hear how members are already doing this successfully. Can you imagine the impact if we encouraged the 158,000 employees that work for you to get in behind climate change? And in March, we'll run a workshop on how to better understand and manage Scope 3 emissions. We'll focus on working with suppliers to help them reduce emissions. And we know that some of you have already started to target suppliers that you've got in common. So we'll look forward to hear how that's going in March. We'll continue our focus on freight as a common emission reduction opportunity for members. We had a workshop at the end of May for stakeholders from heavy transport. We explored some ideas for making the heavy transport sector net zero by 2050. And the group identified a project to develop a joint financing model for low emissions solutions and turn it into a roadmap so they can see what's coming down the line. At the moment, I'm meeting with the people who've expressed interest in being involved, and we'll develop the work program, which I hope to confirm by the end of 2019. Over the last few years, SBC has tried to help members understand how their sustainability objectives and initiatives can improve natural capital in New Zealand. We think that linking natural capital with climate change is a good enabler to make a more meaningful connection with the environment. Natural climate solutions deliver a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions through changes in land use or by capturing and storing additional carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Several members have expressed interest in scoping a project to develop a natural climate solution, which is just about to start, and will continue to position SBC members at the leading edge for innovative approaches for climate change. So if there are any questions, please offer them up via Slido or vote up questions others have posed. And just get in touch with me directly if there's anything you'd like further info on, or if your business would like to be involved in anything that I've outlined. So my hope is that there's something in the program for everyone that will help it make it easier to ramp up the great work that you're already doing. I will help you embed emission reduction in your business. I promise to share your successes with others, and you can count on the SBC team to make it easy and fun. Thank you.
Kia ora, my name's Alison Herft and I run SBC's Consumer Decision Making Program. Members tell us that shifting consumer expectations is one of the biggest issues they face. This work program aims to help members in this area by providing insights and resources to help you keep up with consumer trends and align your sustainability aims with consumer behaviours. We want to look at the underlying system of consumption in New Zealand. What are its boundaries? What are the main actors? And where can changes be made? We want to bring together leaders, frontline staff and advocates for smarter and healthier consumption behaviours in New Zealand. There's a global trend helping organisations play a part in changing consumption patterns, and this trend is the increasing alignment between brand story and sustainability. Brand leaders are becoming increasingly aware of how an organisation's behaviour and communications affect its connection with consumers, and there's growing awareness that sustainability is a market differentiator. Our support for members started with amplifying important consumer research, such as why people do or don't trust different types of organisations and what it means to have a good reputation. We've run workshops on how to align brand story and sustainability. A recent piece of work was the Good Life 2.0 New Zealand playbook, which we developed in partnership with Colmar Brunton. The US version that was done by the World Business Council for Sustainable Development was based on the question, can marketers sell a better world? And we've been inspired by this and done a different version based on the New Zealand market. This people-centred blueprint can help members check if their brand exists in the reality that New Zealanders live in. It can help provide a wider lens on consumers that New Zealand companies are looking for. And it can help businesses wrap their sustainability messaging and activity around what people really care about. Developing this playbook showed us that experiences are stronger status symbols of living a good life than material goods, and that New Zealanders are highly nuanced in what the good life looks like. It also showed us that good life moments occur for New Zealanders more often in quieter times when we're alone than in higher energy moments when we're with others. So we'll continue to engage members in this work through in-house workshops, and we'll also do some webinars, and we're developing case studies on where it's being applied, whether that's as part of a brand refresh or as a reality check on the consumers you're designing your strategies around. And this is all connected with what's happening globally with brand transformation. So I was really fortunate to go to Sustainable Brands Conference in Detroit this year and hear business leaders talk about how impacts can be made because brands are a unique vehicle to connect systems and stories. And you can collaborate on both systems design and the stories that we tell. So leaders such as Valerie Hernando Press from Danone talked about how it's a new citizen paradigm, where the distinction between B2B and B2C is increasingly looking outmoded and false. Julia Channing from Allbirds talked about how they connect science and art based on a design philosophy with sustainability at its core, and that develops a better product for customers. There's a really big focus on positioning sustainability through a health lens, both personal health and planetary health. By communicating to diverse audiences such as sports people and kids, such as what NFL champ Ovi Migueli is doing, that's pulling people into sustainability rather than pushing it onto them in different ways. And this global activity to change consumption impacts affects activity here in New Zealand and vice versa. So it was really inspiring to talk to Chep and L'Oreal, whose New Zealand counterparts are both members of SBC, about what they're doing on product design, engaging customers, and using data to transform impacts across their value chain. So all of this helps us connect the dots about what actions, ideas, and resources can lead to a system of consumption that has less negative impacts to New Zealand, and it gives us insight into how different people, teams, and sectors can work together to bring about this systems change. So this is what we do across all SBC work. Develop a common understanding of the system we're trying to change, identify the people that we can bring together to shift the dial, prioritise the goals, and make sure we're managing outcomes so that we can stay focused. So key to this will be to keep connecting SBC members with global and local leaders in the area of consumer insights, behaviour change, and the ever-growing alignment between sustainability and brand. We'll be starting a series of web chats so we can more easily talk with people, global and local leaders here and overseas, about challenges and approaches. We'll also have some webinars on New Zealand's consumption footprint and talking to experts about emissions impact, food, land use, buildings, waste streams, and discuss what organisations can do to reduce their own impacts, as well as their customers' and suppliers' impacts. Early next year, we'll hold a webinar on trust and reputation. They're different things, but often talked about in the same vein. But we need to talk with you all about what are the latest insights, how are the concepts different, how are they measured, what do you need to know, what's in it for you to know the difference, and what are different organisations doing to get a good reputation and to be trusted. I'm also talking with the team who are rolling out the Brands for Good campaign, which is a global campaign, to see how SBC members can engage. There's a really good opportunity in here to get some amazing resources and connect with people globally through this campaign. It wants to bring together brands, agencies, citizens and influencers to work on making sustainable living easier and more rewarding. So all of this is part of how we as a team work together to help members embed sustainability across the business. We're currently co-designing networking events for early 2020 that will bring leaders and teams from different parts of your business to work together on shared goals. And for my final 20 seconds, I'd just like to invite you all, keep talking with me about what you need with your customers, your clients and suppliers, and what we can do to help make this happen. Keep talking with me about your ideas, plans and stories, and this will all be part of us bringing others along with us. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Hi, I'm Robert Perry. I lead the Sustainable Leadership portfolio, and 2019 has been a hugely successful year. I'm going to share some highlights from the year. I'm going to highlight what's coming next and how you can get involved. There's 3 themes that are going to go through my presentation: collaboration, scaling, and impact. So this is the purpose of my portfolio, and it's focused on what's urgent and also what's emerging. I'm hearing increasingly from members that sustainability as we know it won't cut it given the challenges we face. Sustainable business models will be increasingly regenerative, restoring what's lost, providing a positive impact, and being profitable in the process. We'll deliver on that purpose through 4 worker programs. Let's start with the Sustainable Leadership Program. Members tell us that technical expertise isn't enough to embed sustainability into a business, let alone tackle the complex issues like climate change. We also understand that to thrive in a VUCA world, a new bold leadership is needed, incorporating collaboration, strategic thinking, and creativity. So, in partnership with Catapult, we have rolled out the SLP program twice over the last 18 months. Feedback shows it's working well, and there's a growing demand as both programs have been oversubscribed and we've received applications from non-SBC members. This is this year's cohort. The program finishes next week, and I've been really impressed by the caliber and the diversity of participants. Includes 2 directors, 8 sustainability specialists, and a host of GMs spanning procurement, finance, branding, and marketing. And this has brought a richness of ideas and perspectives. We've received great feedback, with the hero being the ability for participants to apply learnings on real-life challenges through the program, but our aspiration to build leadership at scale exceeds our current capacity. So SBC will be working with partners to deliver a broader range of products for members at all levels. So what do these have in common? Let me tell you. They all feature in our expanded leadership program. First, Catapult will be delivering the next year's SLP program, which is going to be launched next week. We'll also be offering a bespoke program to individual members. Finally, we'll also be bringing Cambridge's flagship leadership program to New Zealand next year. Now, a key benefit of SLP has been the fellowship that's forged. A number of participants have signaled interest in reconnecting and refreshing their use of the tools that they've learned. So we've held an event in Wellington that was hugely successful, and the alumni are going to be hosting 3 more sessions. We will be hosting 3 more sessions in Auckland and Christchurch. Now, good governance, let me catch up. You told us that directors are critical to embedding sustainability into business. Our work with directors has showed that they want to lead, but they need practical support to help them. So we've developed good governance guidance, which has been widely used by members. The guide helps build boardroom oversight of critical sustainability issues. It also includes the matrix, which you can see, that allows you to understand the level of maturity by which sustainability is embedded into your organization and to identify the critical steps for improvement. We launched the guide at the networking event attended by 90 execs and directors who heard from Jonathan Porritt, Rob Campbell, and Jane Taylor. And we'd love to showcase some of the stories from those around the table who have actually applied the guide to show and inspire others to action. So You've also told us the CFOs are another critical group to engage. We want to show them not only the money, but also the broader value of sustainability. In October, we will hold a second business breakfast for execs, directors, and CFOs, and the event will focus on climate governance and the TCFD. Invitations will be sent by council members. Now, I've been blown away by the number of members who have been embracing the SDGs, and we want to help members move beyond mapping. We held an SDG summit where Vector, Sanford and Christchurch Airport shared their insights, and we've also integrated the SDGs into our Sustainable Leadership Programme. A highlight was still seeing Abby presenting to the UN on the progress of New Zealand business on the SDGs. Finally, this year saw the launch of the SBC Future of Work programme, and as a fundamental transformation of work is underway. From changes to workplace structures to automation and future skills needed, the nature of work is evolving, and it's evolving in pace. Drivers of change include new technologies, including artificial intelligence, changing demographics, including an aging and increasing multicultural workforce, and a transition to a zero-emissions economy. Opportunities abound for business to create new products and services, as well as reconsidering the roles of individuals and organizations at work in ways that not only create value, but boost productivity and enable people to thrive. There are potential risks if we are poorly prepared. And that is the very reason that we call for urgent, decisive action, both individually and collaboratively, and that's the focus of our program going forward. Our exploration phase has showed us that future of work can mean all things to all people. The issues are complex, leadership and good practice is fast emerging, but initial action is frequently risk-based without a clear understanding of the opportunity, while collaborations are small, fragmented, or slowed by political process. And without coordination, duplication of effort is a real risk. So our initial focus has been building awareness around the challenges facing business and the urgency to prepare. We launched the guide in February, which is available on our website, and we also brought 63 execs, directors, and people leaders together for a breakfast. Again, videos of that session are online. Another insight is there is a significant interest in collaborating, but on collaborating, they do not know. So we are convening a group of people leaders to co-design what can be done together. We held our first innovation sprint last month. Our next sprint is on the 3rd of September, when a group will co-design experiments that can drive systems change. We'll also be publishing case studies and setting up a platform to share information. So if your organization is interested in participating, please get in touch or look at Panui for details. So, one slide behind, not bad. So I started with the champions of Europe who are really pushing the boat out in terms of their leadership edges. So I'm going to I've left you with Charles Darwin and a quote which I'll state. "It's not the strongest that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones that most responsive to change." And that's why this program is here to help you succeed. If there's anything you're interested in, please let me know. And if you've got questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Jay. I joined SBC 5 months ago. I manage our events and training portfolio, and I recently moved back from London where I worked in comms in the charity sector. And I've arranged everything from parliamentary receptions to a travelling GP roadshow complete with pin the stethoscope on the doctor. Today I'd like to share with you a few of my event faux pas, because I think you learn more from mistakes than you do from success. So when I was working at a youth justice charity, I arranged a reception for Princess Anne, the charity's patron, who's on that photo. I organised a number of primary school kids to come and speak, and one of the kids was understandably quite nervous and called her Royal Lioness Princess Anne instead of Her Royal Highness Princess Anne. I've also arranged the annual council meeting of another membership body for disabled children's organisations, and my boss there was quite afraid of technology, so it was a proud moment when I managed to get her mic'd up. Unfortunately, she forgot to take her mic off when she went to the loo. So the full performance was beamed live into the conference room. So that brought a new meaning to the term toilet humour. If you come to my events, you're hopefully in for a good time, as evidenced by the Stick Your Tongue Out fun Minister Shaw had the company in the company of CEO Tony Gibson at the Climate Leaders Coalition anniversary that I arranged last month. You can see from the Minister's face just how excited we all were to have that cake. So what does this mean for events at SBC? Well, like an Italian suit, we tailor our events based on the recipient. We offer a broad range of events to a broad range of people, from HR directors to sustainability managers. And our purpose is to deliver a program that is needs-led and engages and connects our members, the kind of events that end in a celebratory hongi, like they did at Embark. Is that a pie, Jay? I'm glad you asked. Yes, it is. I've established 4 strategic principles that underpin our event delivery. The first one is purposeful, which is impact-focused. The second one is insight-driven, which is based on member need. And the third one is engaging, because no one likes death by PowerPoint. And the fourth one is strategy-led. And these 4 words happen to spell out pies. What does this mean in practice? It means more use of tech, like Slido, more time for fellowship and connection, more use of two-way engagement, like our workshop on our vision today, and more paper aeroplanes, apparently, which we had at our net zero transport workshop in May. Next time there will be truck, train, and boat origami as well. I divide SBC's time into BCE, which is before Crangle era, which Crangle is my surname, and Crangle era, CE. So my colleagues have already mentioned a number of BCE events, but BCE we also had our sustainable procurement workshop, which brought together an audience outside of the usual sustainability suspects to build connections, which was great. And our events from our audiences, events continue to broaden, including our heavy freight leaders at our net zero transport event, their freight being heavy, not the leaders. What's coming up in the Crangle era? In addition to what's been said, we've also got our start of the year events, a whole chatter of webinars, and more on the happy marriage between brand and sustainability. We've got so much coming up that to avoid inbox overload, we're going to package up your invites into one tidy events email that we'll be sending to your inbox each Monday, so keep an eye out for that. And if at these events no one keeps their mic on in the loo and no royalty are likened to big cats, then I'll count that as a win. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. I'm Catherine, otherwise known as CJ. I can't promise you as many laughs as Jay, but for the last 12 months, I've been the communications manager for SBC while Renee Graham has been on parental leave. She's just come back on board a few weeks ago and is here in spirit and on the live stream. Hi, Ren. It's great to have her back on board. So she's been working on this very important project and I've been holding the comms baby. The good news is I'll be sticking around until at least the end of the year part-time to share the work. Renee will be probably the go-to for member comms and storytelling advice, but I'll be supporting some of the work streams and still writing pānui. Speaking of pānui, this is one of the key ways that we amplify your stories. We've put out 48 issues this year, featuring stories and guest blogs from so many of you to share best practice. And when we asked you what channel you valued the most, this came out on top. So if I think about our 4 pillars, when we're trying to make sustainability aspirational and inspirational, we covered some of that at the storytelling workshop back in January, along with some of the challenges. This was probably my favourite slide, which got the biggest laugh at the time. Another one of our 4 pillars is to make sustainability easy and clear. And so we work with media to connect them with the experts. This slide celebrates what I see as our infiltration of the MBR. We see a lot of comment on plastics, waste and climate change. Rachel Cox has supported the CLC very well on that front, I'll just add. We also want to create fellowship and belonging, which the team do a great job of at our events particularly. And we support that through our online communities on Twitter and LinkedIn. If you don't follow us there already, please do. And also via pānui. So 4th pillar, making sustainability the norm and then unavoidable. We're really pleased to see more opinion pieces from SBC members, CEOs and directors this year, as this is a big influence on other businesses. Take about particularly Rob Campbell and Nick Main. I'd just like to give a special mention to Volker for sitting down for a video interview with the MBR, which wasn't quite as enjoyable as he might have hoped. This year we've been celebrating the 20th anniversary of the founding of the New Zealand Business Council for Sustainable Development. So thank you to everyone who's contributed time and effort to videos, opinion pieces, and other comment to mark 20 years. We're part of a community here, and we know that sustainability is more than just SBC. So one of the anniversary initiatives has been to illustrate the landscape of all of the different initiatives around New Zealand. And we're celebrating the milestones of 20 years with this graphic, which you'll see on the wall over there. And I really encourage you to add your own milestones to it, both in the past 20 years and in the upcoming 30, with what you'd like to see, because today we're looking back and looking forward. So thank you very much.
All right. So now we'll be taking questions that you've posed on Slido, but we can take questions from you in the room as well, so not everyone has to be on their phones. What I might do, if you do have a question you don't want to put on the phone, just raise your hand when I prompt it, but we'll start with one question from Slido. There's one that's been upvoted quite significantly, which is, how can we incorporate more te ao Māori into the work of SBC, as well as Pacifica and other cultural groups in New Zealand? That's quite a broad question. I'll just add something from me and then put it to the group. When we launched the Good Life Playbook, there is some information there about what the Good Life looks and feels like to Māori and Pacifica. And that's two different groups, not together. And we have been talking with people about how that can come into their work or is already part of the work we're doing. And it's actually something that we might start looking at ourselves with our strategies and plans about using that in how we design things. Anybody else in the team like to talk about our Māori?
Yeah, great question, and it's really nice to hear that question. This is a really important issue and opportunity for SBC, and we want to progress from a place of authenticity. So we are in the process of building our own cultural capability. So we're on a journey ourselves, and we're not going to rush that. So you're going to start seeing more flavour of Te Ao Māori within our events and respecting those principles. A couple of cabs off the rank is that we are looking at our name, for example, and whether there's a better way or an alternative way to use Te Reo to not translate it literally, but actually to use it to encapsulate what we do and the impact we provide. But that still has to be backed up with authenticity and embedding it with our own programs to make sure that we're more relevant to Māori organisations and commercial entities. The other opportunity that we're looking at now is how do we bring that flavour through the Sustainable Leadership Programme. So that's something that we're exploring right now. So yeah, watch this space. It's something that we've recognised, and I'm glad you've highlighted it, and it's been looked at. Yeah.
Have you considered inviting students to networking events to ensure intergenerational integration? Makes sense that we hear from what they want to inherit from us.
I can answer that one. Thank you so much for that question. We've got a student this afternoon. It's so very timely that you asked that. Her name is Nola Smart. She's the co-convener for Generation Zero in Auckland. So she is coming along to share her views on what a regenerative and positive and thriving future looks like for Aotearoa. After she said yes to the event, I had 6 more young people come along and say that they wanted to come along to SBC events too. So I'm super excited about that. Some of them, there's a couple of young people running like a waste management program out in South Auckland I'd love to hear from. We've got contacts at, I think it's 350.org as well. So it's something that we're looking to increasingly bring into our events. So it's really nice to hear that there's an appetite for that.
And I was chatting with one of the organisers of the next youth climate strike 2 days ago. So just kind of talking about what they were doing and what we were doing. So yeah, not sure how it will play out yet, but we're definitely connected.
maybe just to add to that, within the context of our Future of Work program, there's a real recognition that we need to have a diverse group of stakeholders engaged in that conversation about what is the future of work, what are the key risks and opportunities facing businesses, and how can we work together to capture those opportunities and manage those risks. And there's definite recognition that youth are part of that conversation, just as those including the unemployed or those who are not part of the conversation or most vulnerable to some of the risks associated with increasing automation. So, yeah, the opportunity to have a more diverse engagement is being looked at through the Future of Work. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, great to see some more questions. Before I read one more from this, anybody want to pipe up? We can come to you with a mic. No? Great to see, Jay. Everyone's happy with the technology. Okay. How will SBC help business move from using Sustainable Development Goals as badges to showing meaningful contributions to specific and relevant targets? So I think you got a light touch on that in your 20 seconds, but anything you want to add?
That's a very good question. I think it's about continuing the dialogue that we've had so far. We do know that moving beyond mapping and SDG bingo is a real key challenge. We did have a recent networking event. In fact, it wasn't that recent. It was actually in October, when we showcased the likes of Christchurch International Airport, Vector, and Sanford, who have actually gone beyond that mapping. So the first port of call is to celebrate the leadership that's already taken place rather than reinventing the wheel. And we're also looking for resources to support you on that journey, and also looking for further events to build fellowship so good practice can be shared across our network. So it is something that we're committed to and will continue through the next year. I think also, sorry if I can just make one more point, it's not just about moving beyond mapping. There's also a group that are really struggling to get on a journey. So one of the things that we have noticed is that there's an opportunity to develop a webinar on the 101 on how to get started with the SDGs. So that's in the pipeline for, I think it's early next year. Might be wrong, I'll check that out. But yeah, SDGs is very front of mind for us.
I think the piece that's missing with the SDGs is what's the country signed up to? So is it the role of business to come up with a bit of a consensus on which SDG are we going after? What would a national scale KPI look like? How do we get a collaboration of SBC members and other stakeholders working to really drive change around that KPI? So the discussion that Rob and I have when we talk about collaborations is how much do you want us to frame what those opportunities might look like, or how much does that need to come from members to make it like it's your sense of ownership and we'll just coordinate it? So it's not in the work program in terms of how we've discussed it, but it's definitely something that's, we've kind of got it in our back pocket at the moment. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who moves first, whether we get that really clear national scale priorities, or whether it's you guys who say, actually, there's 5 of us who are keen to do something jointly on this particular SDG. So we'll play a role in whichever happens first.
I think maybe if I can just add one more thing, there's a couple of challenges within the context of the SDGs that have been shared with us. One was about how the hell do you navigate them? Secondly is how do you make them relevant to your staff or your customers? The second one is how do you actually measure your contribution at a national level when the priorities are not clear? So, we have been working alongside MFAT and a number of those agencies to try and get more clarity as to what the government's program is. Has it gone as far as we would like right now? Possibly not. And it was good to see case studies of SBC members, including in the VNR, the Voluntary National Report back to the UN. So, but there is lots to do.
Okay, thank you. All right, here's one. Rob, I'll try and give you a tiny bit of a break, but this one does touch on your area as well. But I can start off, which is, have you tried establishing direct contact with CEOs and directors who have not yet attended the conferences or meetings and requested feedback from them? So my point of, from my view, we do, when we talk with people, whether they're newer members or they're just part of the stakeholder set for something we're doing, we do try and establish very direct relationships with a number of people with an organisation, and that definitely includes the CEO where we can. So for those that haven't yet attended any of our events and meetings, we will look at, one is, does that mean, what are the issues with that? Are we not actually providing the places that they can come to? We don't want to waste anyone's time, so are we providing the best opportunity for them to engage? And also looking at whether it's bringing CEOs and directors together around a particular topic or challenge that they can work through together at that peer level, and look at how it's affecting things across sectors as well. So it's a really good challenge on us to continually look at the engagement format and topic that it's wrapped around to make sure it's the best use of the CEO's time and directors. Anyone else want to add anything? About engaging CEOs and directors that haven't attended conferences and meetings or getting feedback from them.
Yeah, I mean, what we've done is the director audience has been a pretty new audience for us because our primary connection is through CEOs and sustainability managers. But the fact that we've actually got now a group of 30 directors who are leading on sustainability and who want to lead from the front, not only in terms of their organisations, but on behalf of New Zealand, is a fair reflection of their commitment. I think the challenge for us now is to support them, and they've told us quite clearly that they want to work alongside the C-suite, and the need to get consistency between the board and the C-suite is important. But they also want to be kept ahead of the curve on emerging issues. And to be quite frank, directors do not have the benefit of so many networking events where they can actually just chew the fat and say, look, I've got a problem and I don't know what to do. How have you done it? And that's things that we've done. So we've created trusted spaces where directors can have free and frank conversations. And I think the success of that is the fact that we've had 90 directors and execs turn up for a workshop very early in the morning on good governance. And not only did they turn up, but they're applying what they've learned. And that's why we're going again on the 22nd of October, when we will be focusing on climate governance, because the directors have said to us they want to get better understanding about what's their role in climate. So it's a learning process for us, and they're a critical group, and we'll continue to work with them and support them.
Okay, I've got one that for you, Kate, by the looks of it. Embark was a bit cost prohibitive this year. What's being looked at for future similar events around affordability? And I guess this maybe goes to just SBC events generally and other stakeholders attending things of that scale.
Yeah, we knew with Embark that we wanted to create a sense of scale and a sense of movement of change. And that was why the concept partners decided that it would go beyond SBC membership. So that forced us to look at a different financing model. So some of the things that we weighed up were around not making profit on the event, but there are very real costs associated with an event of that size. So So that's the second piece of feedback that I've had, that the price was cost prohibitive. It's outweighed by many more comments that I've had that it was affordable. And a lot of those comments came from the smaller service providing organisations who said, thanks for putting this at a price that we could afford to pay and come along and engage. So in the future, I think we'll continue to look at the market. You know, your going rate for a traditional conference is more up in the grand, and we delivered ours for $530. So, you know, no profit was made, but there are very real costs associated with an event that size. So we did the best that we could.
Are there any work streams in the pipeline for circular economy to build New Zealand's onshore recycling capacity? It's quite a specific one. I mean, there's sort of two parts of that about circular economy generally and SBC's work in that area. And then, onshore recycling capacity is a bit of a broader thing. Maybe should we answer the circular economy question first?
Yeah, so our focus has always been, the language we've used has more been around the value chain rather than circular economy. We work operationally quite closely with Sustainable Business Network, so we're really conscious that the circular economy work is theirs. And in the very small but growing sustainability market in New Zealand, it kind of makes sense for some of us to play in one space and others of us to play in the other. Where waste turns up for us is kind of tricky as well. So with being such a small team and having such a large member base, one of our challenges is how do we choose what we choose to work on? And so we always test ourselves around, will this have member value? Will it have impact? And is it something that SBC can uniquely do? With waste, we're really conscious that there are a whole load of other players in the system who are involved in this space. Lots of different forums, lots of different funding mechanisms. And so for us, we'll always be guided by you on where you want us to play, but it would mean us stopping doing something. So if, my conversations with members at the moment are around helping them. They've had not positive experiences with the Waste Minimisation Fund. How can we provide that feedback to Ministry for the Environment as administrators of that fund to help them access funding to do more? I know that there's appetite from a few CEOs who want to, look at a collaboration around waste and recycling, but is it something that we're resourced to deliver at the moment? No.
I'll just add a little to that, which it might come up a little bit in the webinars we'll be doing on the consumption footprint, which will be more around what's happening at the moment, what are the boundaries, who's doing what, and what's businesses' role in it. So all the big institutions and actors, what are they doing in this area at the moment? And then trying to tie that back to the value chain with the very sort of upstream sourcing and product design through to consumer waste and disposal, and just keeping an eye on that overview between those issues and how one impacts the other. So I'll turn up a little bit in that.
I'm part of the current Sustainable Leadership Program, which has been fantastic, connecting with people, and you can really toss around some ideas, but sort of wondering whether you would, I guess it's some sort of social media platform or a closed group or some sort of thing where people can, because quite often it's a very specific issue that you might be trying to solve. Somebody out there is surely doing something. Is there something where members can basically collaborate online to help, create their answers to their solution, to the problems?
Great question, thank you. And I'm glad you're enjoying the SLP program. We have budget set aside for the alumni. I am very cautious about telling the alumni what's best for them. So we have an open invite to the alumni in terms of what you need and how we can support you deliver upon that. What I've heard so far is that members of the alumni wanted to reconnect, and they wanted to practice the learnings through the program, because when you get back to work and you just get bombarded again. So that's why we held the pilot session in Wellington, and it was successful. And I think there's 3, including Alison Howard, Sam Bridgman, and Maurice from ACM, who have agreed to host 3 more sessions in which they have peer coaching sessions where you can apply those learnings to critical issues in your organizations or within your leadership. So that's one platform. But I guess what I'd be really keen to hear about is, well, what is the opportunity, what's your proposal, and how we can support you as a member of the alumni to bring that to fruition. So let's talk about that.
Okay, time for maybe one more, and we'll wrap up. Kate, climate change is an exceptional catalyst for integrating wider sustainable business practice. How is SBC approaching this opportunity?
A few different ways. So I think where it's turning up really usefully kind of links back to directors and C-suite and strategic thinking. So setting a science-based target forces you to think about what your business will look like and how it will operate in 2050. And quite often that's the first time that a business is kind of forced to think that far out. So one of the reasons that Rob and I are working together on the directors event in October is that that's a really nice way in to get directors and C-suite more aligned with some of that long-term thinking about sustainability and the different material issues that will turn up for their business. And I touched on in my presentation that kind of link back to natural climate solutions, ecosystem services, biodiversity. That's been an area that's been really hard for members to get into and make a direct link to. And so I think climate change is the ideal opportunity where we can start to look at some of those, creating value in both climate and biodiversity. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into that project and seeing what comes out of it. So they're probably the 2 main ways.